Hello, it's Maggie, the Cheshire Crafter here. Now I'm pleased to say I finally finished my Coronation quilt. This one I'm keeping for myself. And this was from a disappearing 4-patch. And I've quilted it on the diagonal. So it's like a lattice work. And it's the first time I've done it on my machine. And I just thought I'd share with you some of the differences. You can see on the back the effect of the lattice work. It's the first time I've done it like that, and I did it on my Singer hand cranked machine. So I thought I'd share with you in this video some of the differences from quilting this way to completing the previous one. I uploaded a video about that last week. And I'm pleased to say I finished this one in time for the Coronation Concert last night, so I can snuggle up underneath this myself. So let's take a look at how this differed from the previous one. So let's go back and remember what it looked like a few weeks ago. The difference on this is it's only, well, it's about 36 hours now to the coronation, so I've not got the opportunity to send this to anybody, so I'm going to do this quilt for myself, and I just want to see whether there's any difference in making a quilt and keeping it for myself. Now, the quality standard is the same with regard to the fabric, the quilting, and I'm going to back it and quilt it the same as the previous one that I sent in the post. The difference is I'm just going to do the best I can on this. I want to see if not having a time constraint or a gift constraint makes it any different. I've not felt at my best the past couple of months, so my work is quite slow at the moment, and I don't like working to time constraints. So let's see how I feel when this is completed. Pinned the wadding and the backing on in the same way I normally do with my pins, and I'm just going to cut off the excess so there's no extra weight. I've started to roll it up to take it from my bedroom to the sewing machine, and I've realised that in order to do this throw, I'm going to roll it differently, because I'm going to start sewing at this edge and work across the diagonal. So I'm going to use the inside and the outside of this line going down. And there are parts where I haven't got a guide. I'm going to have to stay straight. Now, whether I use my line of sight there or whether I use French chalk is to be seen, but I'll roll it differently now. Using my Singer sewing machine, and I have noticed already that starting this on the diagonal gives me a much longer amount. Obviously, a diagonal line is longer than a horizontal or vertical, so it's given me more of this rolled up throw on my lap, and I am definitely using the extension table to take the weight. What I am aware of is that this might want to pull in all sorts of different directions, and I have only got one hand to steady the fabric. The other hand is on my handle, so let's see how I get on. I've got the same Coats Moon thread in my top and bobbin, and I've got a jeans needle in and a walking foot, as you can see. this point, I've got no line to follow. There's no seam line to go either side of, but I can see very clearly where I'm aiming for. So I'm actually winging it, but I'm trying to keep it parallel to the previous lines and just hold it straight and guide it through. Now, my other options here included adding this tool onto the walking foot to get a parallel line. I'm still using this piece of tape to keep me straight. Some French chalk, some tailor's chalk, or one of the erasable pens. That's fine. I had considered perhaps using some French chalk or tailor's chalk on this point, but actually I don't need it. That's straight enough for me. Well, we had the pomp and splendour and solemnity of the coronation yesterday. And today is Sunday. We've got the celebration of the concert this evening. And I still haven't finished my quilt yet, but this one's celebrating afternoon tea. And for my tea tonight, I'm going to have the food identified with this coronation, which is quiche. So I'm going to have baked potato quiche and something very British, Heinz baked beans. I've been drinking coffee out of my coronation mug, and the cup of tea that I have is the mango and pineapple infusion from Fortnum and Mason's. It's yummy. It hasn't really been any more difficult to do a lattice that's across the diagonal quilt on this picnic blanket or throw, which makes me think that I might try more things on point. I'm trying to do as many quilting and patchwork techniques as I can, so something on point might be something I do in the future. I certainly won't be put off by it. When working on point, it means that the edges haven't been sealed, so I'm working on the inside edge here of the patchwork with a row of stitching. Like that. Now that's going to look more evident on the back when I look at the back, because it's going to look like a latticed square. This row of stitching completes the square. Although it's Coronation Sunday, we still have bank holiday tomorrow. Because I was up watching a lot of the coronation yesterday, I've had to spend a lot of time in bed today. So if I was doing this as a gift for somebody, I'd be way out of time. This is partly why I don't try to do something to a time schedule or run a business. I just wouldn't be able to. And it would create a great deal more anxiety for me. And that would take the pleasure out of what I'm doing. This is still pleasure. Finishing off the borders and trims the same as last one. The difference this time is I'm going to trim these edges before I sew on the bias binding. I was sailing very close to the wind last time and I don't want to repeat that. So I'll trim that down first and then come back to the machine and attach my bias binding about there. About to cut my border. I bought this 24-inch rule and this is perfect for doing this sort of work. I'm going to line the 5-inch straight line on this edge here of the inner border and cut the excess here. Now, because I still have pins in place to hold this border in place, it means that this ruler won't go flat. So I'm getting it as flat as I can, but I'm using a dumbbell to make sure it doesn't slip, because the tilt is going this way on this ruler. If, like me, you're short of space, do it in sections and roll up your quilt. It's more important to have a flat surface and a good light. You can see I'm working by the window here in my kitchen. Another option here would be to use the excess fabric that I've cut off as a trim. Just fold it over like you would bias binding. I think you'd need 2.5 to 3 inches excess for that. I prefer the bias binding and the dark purple to finish this at the edge. And I have an idea of what to use this excess for. Nothing is wasted with me. Once all the loose ends are sewn in, the last bit of hand stitching is the trim and sewing on the bias binding by hand. So there we are, complete, from a simple 4-patch to a lattice quilted throw. I hope you've enjoyed watching this today. I've got a thread there I've not taken off. I'll have to sew that in. When I commented about the quality standard of doing something for myself, I found I was as particular as completing one for myself, because I'm going to keep this for many years, and this might become an heirloom to one of my heirs. So yeah, I was as particular about finishing it as I was gifting it to somebody else. So whoever gets this in the future, I'm hoping that's quite a long way off yet. Anyway, for now, this is Maggie, the Cheshire Crafter, saying bye for now. Come back and see me soon for more crafting, won't you? Bye.